Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and X-Men Gold, issue number 36. That's it. This is the last issue. All the X-Men except for Kitty Pryde died in this issue. No, I'm joking. That doesn't actually happen. Sometimes I'm okay with the cover not reflecting what happens on the inside. Yeah, this is one heck of a cover, man. I was wondering, like, what the frick, dude? So, this issue is called Feared and Hated. It is, again, the final issue of X-Men Gold. Written by Marc Guggenheim, artist Pryde. I hope I didn't butcher your name too much, brother. I'm pretty sure I did, though. Colorist, J. David Ramos. Letterer, VC's Corey Petit. And artist for the cover, Phil Noto, where he's killing all the X-Men. The variant cover artists are Wiles Portaccio and Chris Sotomayor. So, this was good. Jack Kirby, Stan Lee created the X-Men, or the originals. So, basically, this is a Kitty Pryde issue. We're going to get into why that's a Kitty Pryde issue towards the very end of this review. Basically, it's Kitty having a conversation with Colossus, Peter, but it's over his phone. It's on voicemail. He's listening to it, but he doesn't want to talk to her. And I can't blame him, but I also don't blame her. Listen, I know it's mostly guys who are reading these comic books, and it's okay. Like, literally, it's okay to feel like Kitty Pryde did everything wrong, because you're going to understand everything from the point of view of a guy. But honestly, like, without trying to sound condescending, as we get older, most of us do come to realize that men and women think differently. It's not that men are smart and women are stupid. No. Actually, in reality, men are a lot more simple. we're very simple, very single-minded, very focused. Women are trying to do too many things at one time most of the time, but it's also kind of necessary, and thank God they do. So, no, this is not Kitty Pryde's fault. This is Kitty Pryde's right to say, I want to marry you, and it was his right to say yes or no. He said yes. It is then her right if she wants to say, I don't want to marry you, just as it was his right to do the same. And there can be no blame for something like that. There can be no blame. It's silly. It's silly. But hey, feel how you want to feel. So what do we get in this issue? Every single thing imaginable that the X-Men typically do. The X-Men talk. The X-Men fight in the Danger Room. The X-Men have a cool conversation with each other in the Danger Room. The X-Men get the word that there's an Omega-level mutant out there, and let's go and try and help him. And when they do, tragedy befalls. No, it doesn't involve Magneto. In fact, if Magneto were there, it probably would have been worse. But yeah, dude, this guy winds up getting shot, and we have to deal with... The idea on the outside is that this is a little bit of racism. Look, this doctor may be racist. I don't know. I don't know if this doctor is racist. I don't have enough information if he's racist or not. Literally, the only person who could tell me if this doctor was racist or not is Marc Guggenheim, who created this doctor. So until Mark tells me one way or the other, this is just a guy who is genuinely fearful that if he operates on this boy and saves his life, which he could save his life, possibly, potentially, the idea is that when his mutant powers flare up again, even while he's under anesthesia, he could wind up destroying everything in the hospital. He saw what happened. This kid destroyed several city blocks because he wasn't in control of his powers. Brand new. The doctor's afraid for his life. All right, so I have to take it at his word that that's the case. He didn't turn around and say mutie. He didn't turn around and talk about you people. He didn't say anything like that. He didn't say any of those key words that we know to look for, either the overt ones or the more subtle ones that racists think that they're smart and they're getting away with stuff, when the rest of us are just like, you freaking racist idiot. So, and then the following term, what? I didn't say anything bad. Idiots. So somebody else shows up, some blonde woman. She shows up and says, I'll do it. I'll say, no, mind you, at this point, Kitty Pryde is being irrational. At this point, Kitty Pryde is being extremely irrational. Even if this doctor was a full-blown racist, what she turns around and tells Prestige to do, and I think you can imagine what she says to do, this is just Kitty being extremely irrational. Let's also remember, she was not necessarily thrust into this role, but she didn't want this role. She's taking this role because it was like, who else wants the role? Nobody. She is really young. She is still learning. She is going to make mistakes. I don't need to make excuses for Kitty Pryde. You know what I'm saying? That her reasons are out there. But regardless, I'm sorry, I love Kitty Pryde too much, man. I'm going to give her a little bit of slack. But the idea is that, yes, she was 100% in the wrong, what she was trying to do. 100% can't be argued with. But fortunately, it's a delay tactic enough. And the other X-Men, what do the other X-Men do? What they do is something brilliant, something that I don't see too often in the world anymore. Here's your boss who tells you to do something that you know is immoral, you know it's incorrect, you know it's wrong, and they choose to not do it. They choose not to do it. Imagine that. Instead of, I'm just doing what I was told to do. That's like, I was in the Army, and I've heard the whole thing with, I'm just following orders. And you found yourself court-martialed for following orders because you still have a brain. Regardless of what people like to think, people in the military are actually paid to think. So, yeah, the other X-Men just like, we're not doing that, Rachel, Kitty. We're not doing that. So I liked that. I loved that. People are allowed to act irrational, and you have to have other people around to keep our leaders in check. So fortunately, some blonde girl shows up. She's also a doctor, so a blonde doctor. And I say this because she was very distinctive. Does anybody remember the scene from the first issue of the X-Men? Maybe not, because Artie and CF's mentions up here of a rally date to protest against the Christian president in Indonesia's capital, you know what I'm saying, isn't there anymore. A lot of people are like, that's racism. Yeah. Somebody's going to yell at Muslims for being racist. Anyway, yes, it does exist, but it's, it's the source where you're hearing it from. So that scene was there. That girl was there. She was a doctor, it turns out. And I love how this issue reflects back to that first issue. That is awesome. And, it's funny. I still have the Artie and CF's issue over here, man. That's what's so funny about it. I just don't feel like digging through my comics to find it. But that's great that Guggenheim went and turned this comic book all the way around. Now, how does this comic book end? It ends as though it's going to continue in the next issue. It's not. X-Men Gold is over. Canceled, I don't know about being canceled, but that's it. It's over. We're done. We're done here. The conversation is over. What's going to happen with this young mutant? Does he live? Does he die? We might never know. If we never know, then it's probably because he died. Unless somebody else comes along like a couple years later and says, by the way, you remember that mutant? Oh, he lived. So we don't know. And it's cool. Why is it cool? Because I read the final, I don't want to show you the final page, but I read this page right over here that is actually addressed by Marc. Can you see it? You should. Yeah, there you go. By Marc Guggenheim. So that is awesome, man. Marc Guggenheim gives us an entire page of him talking about the first comic book, first X-Men comic book that he ever read. And it was the first appearance of Kitty Pryde. So, Mark Waid, did I just say Mark Waid? Marc Guggenheim, the other Mark, he ran through 36 issues of this comic book. 36 issues, man, twice monthly. That's no small feat. I don't know that I could keep up with that, specifically because he was also the showrunner for several of the CW superhero TV shows. Yeah, like Arrow and what was the other one? I can't remember what it's called, but the one with Firestorm and all those. Legends of Tomorrow, I think it was called. But he was, dude is like large and in charge. He's got a lot of responsibilities, and he still found time to write a comic book, man. That's pretty impressive. And again, I'm going to reiterate every single issue that I reviewed of this comic book. I liked all of them, with the exception of the crossover that he did with Cullen Bunn, where it seems like, and Bunn is a great writer in and of himself, but I just feel that the crossover that he did, where he was trying to push his poisons, wasn't really that good. And then the Mojoverse thing, the part with the Mojoverse, that was problematic for me, because it felt like it took away too much from the X-Men Gold story. Maybe that happened because I don't know why, but I just didn't like that particular crossover. And X-Men Gold wound up becoming really, really good again. after it got away from that storyline. I was like, I'm going to act like it didn't even happen, and just kept on going. And I loved it. I'm so glad that Marc chose to do that. He did a really good story. Like from issue 1 to issue 36, he did a fantastic story. I just read not too long ago on Twitter that CB Cebulski is thanking Marc for the good job that he did. Actually, let me see something really quick. Boom! Hey, Guggenheim's actually on Twitter. How come I'm not following this guy? I should follow this guy. Boom! You're being followed, bud. This was fantastic. I loved the letter at the end. Like, genuinely, I always love when the writers talk directly to us. If I ever start writing comic books, which I hope to one day, that letters page will be something where I get to talk to the people also, not just on YouTube, but actually pen a letter to everybody who's reading the comic book, a very special thank you, and hey, how you doing? Get the pulse of who I'm reading, and I like that Mr. Guggenheim did that. This was a fantastic series for a guy who was an X-Men fan all the way back since the Dark Phoenix times. Honestly, the best thing I could possibly say is what's obvious. You've given much credit and much respect to all of those who came before you, all of those amazing X-Men writers, including Mr. Claremont, and your name is now permanently etched with those amazing writers and artists. That's a hell of a feat. That's a hell of a feat. Maybe one day I'll be there too. Anyway, guys, that's it. This was a really good line. I'm genuinely sad to see it go, and I'm glad that it ended the way that it did. It ended on that cliffhanger because that's the X-Men. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.